All right, fantastic. So part 3 of the 3-part series of face, tongue, and nails. What we're going to try and do is give you some information about your nails, what they mean, what they're telling you, and then we're going to try and tie it all together, okay? In this concise process as possible. If I go too fast, you'll have to rewind it, so forgive me. This is an upside down fingernail, so just imagine the thumb here. Get the thumbs up. But as you've kind of figured out by now, what we're doing is we're trying to give you an insight of how you can look at your body and give it and get some signs from it as far as what's going on. You know, nail reading is, we talked about the other ones, going back to Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine from East India. It goes back a long ways, but it can tell you a lot about the person's habits, and it can also tell you about their personalities, right? So someone who picks their nails, bites their nails, are they a nervous person? Is it a tick? Is it, you know, are they trying to cover up something? You know, are they inability to bite back on something? Like, so they're biting back on their fingernails. There's a lot of different aspects of this going on. So when you think about the nails, when women often complain because they get their nails done, shellac or you know, things like that, you're talking about different things relating to how brittle it is. They crack all the time. They're talking about their cuticles. I mean,
discoloration.
Right. Yeah, all the kinds of fun stuff, right? So that's going to be assimilation. We talked about this before, assimilation of proteins. On the tongue, you're going to want to look at the middle part for the stomach. And just understand that your stomach on the cheeks, as well as the small intestine line, okay, on the forehead. So if I wrinkle my forehead, you can see I might have had some digestive stress in my lifetime. I haven't been nuked by antibiotics as a kid. So it shows up here, okay? But these are all different signs you can look at. You know, they're all going to show you different things in your body. So we're going to try and bring you up to speed, okay? So the first one's going to be heavy bands of color, okay? So Ellie, if I call you Ellie, may I call you Ellie? So oftentimes what you'll see is heavy bands at different points. Could be some really dark moons, but we'll get to moons in a second, but just kind of draw a band across the top. We're probably going to need something to erase this with, because we're going to,
okay.
You know, just grab a tissue. Yeah. And this can happen anywhere on the nail. I'll let you be the owner of that. We'll get there in a second.
Yep.
But think of it as a band, okay? This is toward the end. If we had that thumbs up, we're looking toward the end here. Now it can show up in different places, but generally speaking, we'll just use that as an example. So think about toxicity. Think about darkness in the tissue as being toxicity related to liver, okay? Vertical lines, if we just draw some lines, you know. Now these might or might not be palpable. They're usually under the surface, okay? So vertical lines are typically assimilation in terms of understanding like how your body's getting the proteins, whether you have enough digestive power to assimilate the proteins and the minerals and things like that. B vitamins especially are really important because those are super important for the liver and detoxification. So if you have vertical lines and darkness, then you can pretty much guarantee that your body is having issues with digestion and toxicity. Redness in the tips of the finger, okay? Purpleness, redness, that's going to be kind of hard to draw for Ellie here, but you get the general idea. Just think of the tip of the finger as like puffy and purple and things like that. So that's going to think oxygenation, okay? Think about lack of oxygen in the body. It could be lung tissues. You want to check their cheek lines for their lungs to see if that's going on. You can check their heart to see if there's any stress in the heart. What else? You can hold their hands. Like when people come in, we don't typically hold hands with people, participants that come in, but sometimes when I'm doing a reset, I'll be muscle testing or something like that, and then there'll be a moment where they're overcome with something, and they might, you know, shed some tears. It's cleansing, and then we'll just drop their arm down, and I'll have it inadvertently, or someone who's unsteady that comes in with ataxia or something that's unstable might hold their hand, and so you might get a sense of their temperature, right? So these are different things you can look for. If you have someone who has purple fingertips, check their circulation, things like that. Could be heart, could be lungs, could be thyroid. Thyroid, remember, is like lines across the neck. Lungs, if you get sinking in on the cheeks, things like that. So these are all things to look for. We don't really want to try and do that because you're probably talented enough to make a contour of the outside, but kind of a puffing. So maybe if it bulged out on the side, you know, things like that. You get the general idea. Bulging on the sides, okay? What else are we going to look at? Pitting in the nail. So think about anything palpable. If these lines, if you drug your fingers across or your fingernail across, and it was like almost like a tack strip, like it almost felt like it was a bump strip, then you're going to want to think about fungal issues, candidal, coccidioid type fungal issues. Then you're going to want to cross-check. Look for coating on the tongue. Look for the, tongue is pretty much a dead giveaway, okay? But look at digestion. Look at digestion lines. You can look for stomach points for the HCl. You can look at the center of their tongue for a streak down the middle. That could be spine, but it could be stomach as well. But coating on the tongue is going to be specific for that, and the tongue with the spleen in the middle. So if you understand that, understand like your stomach and your mouth are the first stages of your digestion. If you can understand that if there's literally ridges in your line and you can feel them, they're not just under the surface, that's going to be fungal issues as a general rule of thumb. So check for digestion, as we mentioned before, check for assimilation of proteins and other things like that. Ask them about gas and bloating, mucus in their stool, a lot of phlegm in their throat, a lot of spitting, things like that. There's a lot of different issues that can go along with this. Okay? Now, up where the cuticle is, if we kind of think this is a cuticle and we think about redness, so just do some spottiness along there. We could have grabbed the color markers, but it's fine. Redness along the cuticle line, think about parasite stress. Now, along with parasites, think about your HCl levels, because your stomach is supposed to be the first line of defense when it comes to your body's digestive system. And if you have a hot enough burning stomach, it's going to sort of kill off the parasites that come in on food and stuff like that. Now, I always want a disclaimer, or put a disclaimer out there with different things, because your body already has the parasites in there. You didn't pick them up by walking barefoot in the grass, eating some sushi, stuff like that. You have them. It's a matter of whether you're balanced or not. So if you have the cuticle line up here that's red and irritated along the skin, so this area here, not on the cuticle necessarily, but on the finger tissue, that's where you want to think about the cuticle line and think about it being parasite stress. So check digestion again, middle of the tongue, stomach points, look for coating, look for issues of not enough, maybe pale tongue, things like that. That's really important to look at. What else could we look at? Remember, digestion lines on the forehead. There's a bunch of places you can look for all this stuff. But generally speaking, redness down at the base of the fingernail, at the skin tissue, that's going to be, think about parasite stress. Okay? We talked about brittle nails earlier, but nails that are bending down, that's protein assimilation. So basically, if your nail starts curling down over the finger, so I guess if this is the end of the finger, it'd be wrapping over the board. Okay, think about it that way. Sure. So if you have your finger like this, it's wrapping over the front. Yeah. That's going to be protein assimilation. Again, you want to look for the digestion line. There's a lot of things you're going to find with digestion. It is, of course, if you're not getting the nutrients from the outside of your body, you're going to have trouble on the inside. So if the nail is growing over, if it's brittle and bending like that, you want to consider that might be digestion as well, and lack of assimilation.
Do all these things go for your toenails too?
Generally speaking, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now we could go a whole nother level deeper to say which meridian from the organ systems is coming out of which toe, but I don't want to overwhelm you here because this gets a little deep, a little nerdy. I use charts because I don't want to remember all this stuff, so I have a chart on the wall in each treatment room where I'm looking at somebody comes up with a symptom. I'm like, well, there's no reason. Did you have a trauma there? No, there's absence of trauma. It's breaking on the inside versus the outside. Mm-hmm. So that's a great question because, and it can show up on the feet and not the fingers. And in fact, if you think about all the amount of energy it takes to get from your body down to your feet, it takes a lot more energy to get from here to there than it does from here to here, because your heart's closer and things like that. So people oftentimes have things show up on their feet, fungus on the toenails, lines, ridges, discoloration, all kinds of fun stuff. Okay. Now moons. If you've ever seen a moon, the only moon finger you're not supposed to have it on is the pinky. So let's just see. Do you have moons?
No, not on my pinkies.
Okay, that's good. All right, that's a great, here, bring your moon up here. So if you see this line right here, how it drops down like that, that's a good sign. And if you notice her pinky, hopefully you can see this, there's no moon there. That's a good sign. Because moon on a pinky is indicative of heart stress, okay? Because your pericardium meridian comes out of your pinky. So that's the one time I'll use an example, is the pericardium meridian. So you don't want a moon there. Generally speaking, moons are good. You want moons on your fingernails. Now, if you have no moons, you're going to want to look at circulatory issues, thyroid issues, and things like that, because then you're talking about, well, lack of circulation, lack of blood flow. So thyroid, we'd want to look at the neck. Remember, if somebody's got a lot of ridges in their neck, a lot of lines through there, that's going to be thyroid challenges. What else? Not really thyroid on the tongue per se, but if you think about the moons, think about that as an indication of circulation and/or thyroid. Okay, you can look at other places, but just make sure you don't have it on a pinky. If you have it on a pinky, it's not like the end of your life. You're not going to go down, But just keep in mind that the pinky is a good place to avoid having a moon. Okay. What else? So tip of the tongue is going to be like heart area. That's for circulation. The nose for the circulation as well, because remember the tip of the nose here is going to be your heart, and the tip of the tongue is also the heart. The front third of the tongue is actually the lung as well. So different areas can relate to different things. Yellow nails, okay? If you ever had yellow nails, people think, oh, that might be fungal, but it can also be liver. So if you've ever seen someone who's been jaundiced, like a baby's that jaundiced, they're almost like yellow. It's like a lot of bilirubin trapped in their system, and it's not excreting through the bowel, and their liver's backed up, so it's excess, okay? So you don't want yellowing of the nails. Don't think it's just fungal. Don't think, oh, it's no big deal, I just got some fungus. It might be a deeper issue. You might have some serious problems with your liver and or your gallbladder and things like that. So pay attention to that. Make sure that, check the face for, we call them the angry 11s. So if you furrow your brow, see you got some angry 11s? A little bit, yeah. I have some angry 11s, don't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that's for deep thinkers that may have had some challenges in the past with some, challenge, whatever we want to call it. So look for that different type of thing on there. Outside of this is not the tongue. If you look at last week.
Can be.
Well, yeah, very flip it around, like a dog hanging their tongue out of their mouth. Outside of the tongue is the area we're going to find either the marcations of the teeth or some swelling or some changes there. That's going to be the liver sign. But generally speaking, right here is a good place to look for it. Yeah, pretty much it. Okay.
Okay.
Candida. If you look for the coating on the tongue, that's a really great thing to remember. Whether it's a yellowness on the toenail, whether it's a coating on the tongue, you want to pay attention to that. Okay. All right. Fantastic. Clubbing. Okay. Not going dancing. I'm talking clubbing. Like your fingernails, your fingertips literally turn into clubs. Like they bulb out and it's almost like a head of a hammer. That's what clubbing looks like. Okay. Again, that's going to be almost a dead ringer for what's called COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder. And that's going to be a respiratory issue, right? Definitely you want to get checked out with that. If you get clubbing on your fingers are clubbing, don't go to the club, go to your doctor. Okay, get you figured out. But you want to, you like that? Okay, we're having fun now. You want to make sure you have proper oxygen flow, okay? Get further testing. If you think about the cheeks, look for the lung points. The front, if this is the tongue, the lung line's about here and the heart line's down here. So you could check the front edge of the tongue. It's a great place to look for the COPD issue as well, because that's going to tell you about your circulatory and breathing and stuff like that. Okay? Fantastic. Now, if we got white dots or white lines, typically that's going to be minerals and zinc. Okay? Oftentimes people have like white spots on their teeth. They might have like a white spot. Typically they say that's like too much fluoride. Holy crap. I'm trying to say hyperfluoridosis. Like too much. It's $10 words. You have to excuse me. It got rattling around my head somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's too much fluoride in the teeth, typically speaking. But I think it was a mineral deposit. Okay. Then you got to look at the tooth chart to figure out which tooth it is, and then you got to figure out why they're depositing more on that tooth. Okay. There's a whole story behind it. You can't make this stuff up. Every day, it never ceases to amaze me what people bring in. Right. And you just say, okay, I got this and that and that. And what about this in your life? They're like, what? It works every time. Yeah. It's like parlor tricks. Only it's about your life. It's pretty cool. But it helps people get to where they need to go. There's two statements that if you can't think, take zinc, and if you stink, take zinc. Those are two general rules of thumb. So I'll say it again. If you can't think, you might be zinc deficient. If you stink, if you have like malodorous sweating, like bad smelling sweating, that could be zinc as well, generally speaking. Not a hard and fast rule, but it's a general indication. Women that have dots or white lines on their fingertips, or maybe just one hand, it's potentially hormone, but again, you want to figure out which finger it is, which meridian it is, what organ system it traces back to, and all this other fun stuff. So just understand that your body is trying to tell you something. It's trying to give you the signs and symptoms and it's saying, hey, this is your check engine light. I need you to check in on this. Just hopefully you do. Right. And not just say, oh, I hope it goes away. Right. Okay? But look for the tongue, look for the color of the tongue. Is it pink? Is it really pink? Is it pale? Is it no color? That'll tell you about the oxygenation. Then you can think about the red dots that might be on the tongue. That's where the B vitamins, where it is on the tongue, where it's on the tip, the middle, the back, the sides. It'll tell you about where your body might be stressed and relating to those B vitamins and things like that. Just take all this information and start just be observant. Just start looking at people like, they got some angry 11s, or their cheeks are kind of sunken, or they got crow's feet, or their eyes are sunken. And so you can tell a lot about yourself and a lot about other people when you look at these things. Okay? Fantastic. So generally speaking, if you have a ridge, like a literal indentation, either thumb up, like this, there you go, either this way or scooping this way, that's going to be stress. Okay, that's a general indication if there's a deep indentation. I don't think I have any, not that I'm under any stress in life.
Yeah, no.
No, none whatsoever.
Super cash.
For sure, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I would say I got some stress in my small intestine, big shocker, and I've got some stress, middle finger, liver, I'm trying to think. See, that's why I have charts. It's not worth trying to remember these things. You can look at a chart. There's just too many things to remember in life. You get the general idea. Yeah.
Right.
But pay attention, because then what's cool about the fingernail is every 6 months you grow out a new fingernail. So if you see where the distance is on your fingernail, you can trace back to see where it happened in the house. Oh yeah, for sure.
6 whole months?
Yeah.
For a whole new fingernail?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Pretty intense.
Yeah.
So if I think, I don't know, you tell me, that's kind of a faint line right there.
It's like 2.5 months old.
I'm going more 4, but I'll take 2.5
Oh,
months.
okay.
Because 0 is down here, and it's working its way out here.
Oh,
so
then yeah.
I'm at the outer third.
Right.
So I had a stressful event, probably related to my liver 4 months ago. Let's just generally ballpark
Right.
it. Okay?
Right.
This is pretty cool, because you can, your body's like, wow, man, just because
Yeah.
it's just so, I
Yeah.
get geeked out on it. I was like, this, you can,
Geek out.
so anyway.
Yeah.
So that's that with the scooping or the divot in your fingernail.
Sure.
Remember, ask them: does your tongue quiver back and forth when you stick your tongue out? Do you have the crow's feet? Are your eyes sunken in the corners here? Those are all signs of stress. Okay. Yeah. So fun stuff. So now you can kind of put it all together, right? Let's just take an example. Liver is a pretty common example. We just kind of talked about my liver line here, presumably. Do you have your nails showing up? Do you have the outside of your tongue showing up? Do you have the angry 11s, right? You know, just start being observant and say, let me see those fingers. Let me see that tongue. Let me see,
Yeah.
Can you scrunch your eyebrows together? And just, yeah, I mean, I'm kidding, but you know, if somebody's got some symptoms and they're like, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
And you don't want to go see someone, you can try and start piecing these together. It's really fun. But you can piece it all together, like, what's the tongue saying? What's the nail saying? What's the face saying? It's pretty cool. So, digestion, let's talk about digestion for a second. Line down the center of the tongue could be long-term spleen stress, like long-term immune stress, could be digestive stress, it just depends. Do you have vertical lit ridges on your nails, right? Another corresponding factor. It's really good to talk slow. I should try it more often.
We work a shot.
Do you have any acne on the cheeks? Acne's on the cheeks. Okay? Yeah. Stomach, okay. The list goes on. You can just start correlating things. Look at the fingernails. Do they have a coating on the tongue? Do they have fungal issues on their toenails or their fingernails? Are they discolored? Do they have different colorations on there? Check the forehead for digestion. Check the cheeks or the chin, right? Hormones for chin. Women that have spots on only one finger and on only one hand and stuff like that, think about their hormones. I mean, you can just dive in forever. Cracked or sores on the tongue, cold sores or cracked corners of the mouth, chapped lips. Long-term, remember, upper lip is small intestine, lower lip is colon. You can determine what part of the digestive system is related to. You can talk about spleen line down the middle. You can talk, so one line down the middle of the forehead, that's like a spleen line. You can talk about digestive enzymes for pancreas across the bridge of the nose. I mean, just think about viruses, think about long-term suppression of the immune system. Remember, your body makes viruses to heal itself. They don't come from out of thin air like the coronavirus. I've told Ellie here I would not go down the rabbit hole, but it's really hard when our governor's talking about shutting everything down with masks. And
I knew it. Matter of time. Okay.
I did well. I did okay.
You did really well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to bite my tongue now. Literally. Okay. So anyway, what are your questions? What are your comments? We had a couple people say that I talk too much. That's fine. This is educational. I'm supposed to be here providing
that's why we're
information.
here.
So
Right.
if this isn't your jam, that's okay. Just cancel this one, move on to the next one, okay? If I'm not your cup of tea, maybe Ellie, maybe you jive well with her, okay? So I'm bringing on some personalities here to give it a little flair, right? People can only handle me so much. So we're going to come up this Friday. Heidi and I are traveling to Tampa for training for regenerative cellular therapy. We're going to do a quick spot there just to say hi. I'm not going to be doing Friday Q&A this week like I didn't do last week. We were supposed to do a live walkthrough of our space. We tried.
Maybe this week.
Yeah, but it was
Stay tuned.
all right. It was logged on to the wrong account and it went into somebody else's watching. Who knows? Somewhere.
Right. Someone might have seen it.
Right, but we got even more exciting stuff going on there. Slats are going up and windows are being cut open and big holes in the wall. There's big tarps. It's super exciting. But let us know what your questions are. What are your comments? If you felt this was beneficial, send a link to your friends and family. We send this out every week in an email saying recap of the week. So just forward this to people if you think they're not really sure about what's going on with them, but they might be receptive to seeing some other focus or some other perspective. That's what we try to do. Raise things to your awareness, help you understand things, and empower you with information so you can make a decision for yourself. But so we'll come live this Friday, one or both of us. Ellie from here, I'll be from the FLA. And then next week we're talking about poo, okay? Next week we're talking about poo on the Wednesday Wellness Minutes. Everybody wants to talk about poo,
Yeah, send
right?
us your questions.
Right, for sure. If you got pictures of poo, don't send them, please. Google images, that's all.
Yeah.
You don't need any more, okay?
Yeah, just a
But
description will be fine.
we'll draw some, pebbles and snakes and,
Yeah,
know,
we're
soft
going
blobs
all
and all kinds of fun
Yeah.
stuff on the on the board here next week. This is our new friend here. But we'll go with that, okay? So, anything to add, Ellie?
No.
All right, fantastic. Share this with your friends and family. Share your comments with us. Let us know how you'd like us to improve. I know you want me to talk slower. It's just a lot of information I got to get out at the same time. Hopefully Facebook and Instagram can allow you to dull down the speed at which you play back. I don't know. Check it out. But we'll sign off for now.
Yep.
And we'll do our awkward exit like we did our awkward entrance.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was awesome. It was epic.
And on a great note, too.
Yeah, So we'll see you guys we'll see you guys on Friday for some form of live.
Yep.
And then we'll see you next week for Wednesday Wellness, the poo caper, we'll call it.
I love it.
All right, sweet. All right.
Okay.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
Good night.
Bye.